you have instant access to what every chef around the world is doing. And it wasn't that long ago, but I remember in like 2000, I was in cooking school, or 99, and I was hearing from a friend that was working at Monaco for Alain Ducasse, and he would send postcards about what he was cooking, what he was doing, and that how much Ajax he would use a day. Literally, he would use a can a day, just himself. And that's all I would hear back. There was no photos of the food. I would have to imagine what it would be. I'd imagine like him getting rouget at the market and all of these little things. I had no idea what it would be. But now, I can learn everything about what is being cooked at Monte Carlo. When I went to Japan, I moved to Japan to cook in Tokyo to work at a ramen shop. I had to go there because I wanted to learn what ramen was actually about. There was no real websites, there was no cookbooks, there was nothing really. I had to get Japanese cookbooks and get them translated. And now, I mean, I don't even know it, I haven't really looked, but I'm pretty sure I could find out the top ramen places. There's probably 10 websites dedicated to the best places to eat ramen all over the world. And that is fantastic, absolutely fantastic. But I think that for all the good that it does in terms of giving instant information to people that want to eat well, it hurts the important demographic of the cooks in the sense that there's no more dreaming of what it might have to be. There's no struggle. And I think it's very important in the creative process, in anything in life, that you endure some type of struggle to sort of make that dream better. It's just like, you learn to work it better. I don't know how, but it just seems that way to me. And that's why when I go to any place in the world, I can sometimes just close my eyes and I think I'm eating in New York City. And that bothers me sometimes. While that's great on one hand because good food's more accessible, we're losing some individuality.
Well, so we're here to talk about the role of tech in the future of food. So like, what are some of the problems that Momofuku is trying to solve with tech right now?
Well, number one is we're just a restaurant company, first and foremost. I'm here because I don't know anything about tech really, other than what I think we need areas of improvement for in the restaurant industry, and particularly the restaurants we run. And we're trying to get to work with the very smart people, a lot of which are here in the city right now. But first and foremost, I think the thing that needs to change in terms of tech is somebody that is going to help the restaurants collect data a lot better on their customers.
Well, you've had a reservation system for a number of years now. So why did you choose to roll your own versus going with something like OpenTable, which has been around for like 12, 13, 14 years now?
I just think that the existing stuff that's there, like OpenTable, like it's great, but it's not awesome. I don't think anybody here is like, man, I love OpenTable. It's so good. I mean, you use it by default, and that's why it's good. It has a huge database, and it has a huge existing clientele. We use them. I think it's great, but it's not something you rave about. And I think that's what we're missing. There's a lot of functional, good products out there for the restaurant industry, but nothing's amazing. And for the most part, though, there's a lot of products out there that are terrible that people have to use. For instance, if anyone here works in restaurants, the POS systems that are available to us are the worst. They are terrible. And yes, there's great sort of younger companies that are trying to create like iPad apps and whatnot, but they're just not as fully integrated as you would want in a restaurant. Like, for instance, there are some wines. We just opened up a new moved Momofuku Co, and we now have space to do wines that we never had before in our old location. And there may be some like really old, great wines that if somebody orders like this great, let's say a Burgundy, I need to open that 6 hours beforehand.
6 hours.
At least, to let it breathe. And not that this happens that much, but this is something that I've learned in the past 3 months. Like, oh, I myself am like, wow, this is so stupid. You can't really appreciate this. The only reason why someone's ordering this is because whether they want to look cool, because they're not really enjoying it because it needs to be open 6 months, like 6 weeks, 6 hours before. And there should be a way for us and the customer to be able to Like at least be like, you know what, Mr. Smith, last time you were here, you ordered the 1954 DRC or whatever. And we would like to know if you wanted to order something along those lines or vertical similar, and would it be all right if we opened it, at 5 o'clock before you come today? That is a very small thing, but it enhances that experience. And a great restaurant, it's all about those little things that you add up to make a great meal. So I think data is not being used, not nearly enough. It's too fragmented. When
you say fragmented, do you mean, how do you mean?
It's not integrated. It's like the wine inventory should be integrated with the POS system, with the reservation system, with Mr. Smith's entire catalog, everything that he's ordered. It's all just separate. And it's very frustrating that we can't get it into sort of a cohesive, simple system.
Right. Well, so, usually when tech comes into an industry, at least lately, as a lot of people around here would like to say, it tends to disrupt the industry, which tends to be bad for sort of the existing people in the industry. Like if you look at Uber, they're crushing cab companies, and then in 10 to 15 years, most cab drivers are probably going to be replaced by robots. So how do you bring tech into the restaurant industry without seeing that kind of thing happen? Or does that happen?
Tech in restaurants is an interesting thing, because at the end of the day, regardless of how futuristic the restaurant industry becomes, we still make food. It's still a craft. It's still almost blue-collar labor. And I don't see robots replacing, people all that much right now, but there probably will be a time where there will be a huge portion of the labor in some form or fashion that gets marginalized because of technology. And I think that when that day happens, it's our job, at least for Momofuku, to be able to see that before it actually happens, and to educate and to prepare our, whatever portion of that labor force it is, to make that transition to something else.
Right. For instance, delivery guys being replaced by drones. At that point, do you keep delivery guys on, or do you embrace the better technology, or
Well, I see a lot of cars. I see everyone taking Ubers here. No one's using the pedicabs that much. No one's using horse and buggies here. We're not going back. And I think that part of it is we need to tell those delivery guys that there's other ways for you guys to contribute to the company. And I don't know what that answer is. It'd be foolish for me to tell you that, but it's my prerogative and my responsibility, I think, to educate them and to push them into fields that they would be interested in. Maybe it wouldn't be delivery. Maybe they're the logistics coordinator. I don't know,
Well, speaking of logistics, one of the things you obviously deal with quite a bit is, when you go to Noodle Bar, it opens at 5:30 most days. 4 or 5:30, there's a line outside, and you sort of are notorious for hating lines usually. So how does tech and logistics start to fix that problem?
It's something that I realized recently. Maybe for a long time I was like, oh, it's pretty cool that we have a line. I myself might not like to wait in line, because I don't think any food, particularly my food, or except Franklin's, is that worth waiting in line for. But I think that's another thing where technology is really? Why are we waiting in line? It's the dumbest thing. There's so many other things to do. It's people don't use payphones. People don't wait in line to use payphones anymore. Because there's other things to do. And I think that it's a matter of time. And I think very soon the whole idea of waiting in line is going to disappear. I'm excited to see when people line up. It's so exciting and thrilling to see people excited to eat at a restaurant. It's amazing. It's such a buzz, not only for me, but for the staff. It's like preparing for battle in a way, because oh shit, I gotta get ready or I'm gonna be in the weeds. But at the end of the day, it's I would want them to spend their time doing something else rather than waiting in line. And it's our responsibility to find a way to deliver some type of technology platform that prevents them from doing that. And also from business, it's stupid. It's we should be able to exchange some type of commerce while they're waiting in line, I don't know exactly what the answer is going to be, but hopefully somebody in this audience can come up with something great.
A few years ago, you told The New Yorker that your sick and tired of how awesome it is to work for tech companies like Google and Apple. Why can't it be awesome to like work for a food company? You know, and you've got lines outside. Do you think it's finally becoming awesome to work for a food company?
I don't know if we're there yet, obviously. One day, I hope that's literally our goal, to not just be a great restaurant group, but to be a great company. I think that the thing that prohibits a lot of people or even talent from entering our industry is because the pay is so low. And I think the only way you can change the talent structure is by paying people from the top down. And I'm not even worried about the executive level. I want to make sure that our dishwashers, our line cooks, you know, I started cooking in 1999, I got paid $10 an hour. That's what I think cooks get paid right now. It's like $10 an hour. That's ridiculous to me, or not that much more. And the economics of it all is all so screwy. So I think the only way you can change it is sort of by bringing the whole system down, by getting so large that you can affect change in a very positive way. So that's just one aspect. Another part is like creatively speaking. I think for a long time, people thought that the restaurant industry only had to be the restaurant industry. And I think that what I've seen, you've had a lot of people from tech, from people that have done well in sort of other fields and are now wanting to pursue their career in the food arts. And maybe 10, 15 years ago, they would have gone to cooking school. But now they want to sort of help out in a meaningful way that could be just working in an office or doing technology or something. And that's what I've been seeing. But for the most part, you know, like, I always think about this these days. It's like Uber is fantastic, but you don't really need to use it. You don't need to eat at Momofuku every day. You don't.
Or do you?
That would be cool. But most people, even the people that don't want to eat well, would prefer to eat well and affordably speaking. So I don't know why food gets marginalized so much in terms of how it's perceived by culture, when it is by far and away the most necessary thing between water and air. I think that it'd be cool for some type of, or just the restaurant industry as a whole, to sort of enlighten itself and to become bigger and better.
So how are you applying that philosophy to like where you're taking the company? Because you've gone Noodle Bar, you're a lot of stuff now. So like where are you going from here?
Growth. We've never done growth before, ever. We've opened up in Australia and Toronto. That's not a traditional growth plan. You know, opening up a magazine with 176 pages with no ads isn't a growth plan. We were able to do stuff that we wanted to do and do it really well. That was always our goal, to be the best at every vertical that we entered. And I don't think that's going to change. And I think that what's interesting is my own personal tastes are different. Like, I want us to still get I want sort of Co, for instance, to be the restaurant that does our high-end version. And I want Noodle Bar to do casual dining and all these other verticals that we want to enter, and everything in between. And I want Momofuku to be this brand that people associate with affordability, greatness, being a good custodian of sort of resources, charity, so on and so forth. But at the end of the day, like, what's missing to me is, in 2004, I wanted to make food that was great and accessible for everybody that wasn't on the Upper East Side or Midtown. And now, after almost 11 years of doing it, and we've opened up a variety of places, it still amazes me that, you know, like, most people don't know what Momofuku is, and they don't care, and why should they? It's this really, I wouldn't say it's for 1%ers, but you know, if you're a foodie, that's what I mean. It's like, you have to be a foodie to care about it. And I don't necessarily think that's something that, while that's cool, there's a massive audience of people that have no idea. You know, it's like, if I serve roasted fennel with, I don't know, like, roasted fennel with, I don't know, pork or whatever, if I send that to somebody that reads the blogs and, you know, has, you know, is a Yelper and all this stuff, they're not going to be that impressed. Roasted fennel, I had that last year, it's so boring. I'll probably say the same thing if I got in a restaurant and be like, this is so boring. But to be able to serve that to somebody that hasn't had roasted fennel before, and to see their eyes light up, and even fennel to begin with, so, and to have them see that, like, taste that anise flavor and how it could be different textures, and maybe with this different acidity with lemon, you know, like, you go on, and that's exciting to me. And to make food that's great and accessible for everybody, that's fantastic for me. And it also allows us to do something that I care about, that I think a lot of people in our restaurant care about too. And we're going to grow, and I think a lot of people are going to be like, well, you guys are selling out. If that means that more people are happy, then so be it.
So what's changed over the years? Because I know you've said before, like, you could have sold out before, but it would have made you really unhappy. So like, what's changed then that you've decided, like, that kind of growth is the direction you want to go in?
I mean, I don't think I can say this without sounding like a total jerk. But like, for me, it's quite honestly never really been about the money. I think there have been opportunities for me in the past to sell to a private equity firm or some very large fast food companies. And I really grappled with that option because it would be more than enough money for me to retire forever, really. But it would be survivor's guilt, and that's not, I didn't get in this business to be like stinking rich. I got into this business not to talk to you guys, but to cook. And even it's ironic that I do less and less of that these days. But I didn't do it to be like a billionaire, gajillionaire. It was never the goal. To do something that I wanted to do. And that's one reason why I can always tell myself I never did it for the money. It's nice to have, obviously, it's nice to have options, and as I get older, it certainly gives me options. But what's important to me now is there's people that, when I opened up, I never thought that this would happen. Mm-hmm. If I thought that we were successful, I would have signed that 5-year option on the 10-year lease. Because the real estate agent was like, you're a lunatic. I was like, I'm not even gonna be alive. And the thing that sort of struck me now is there are a lot of people that are with me 7, 8, 10 years. And when you stop sort of worrying about yourself and you start worrying about other people, then you're like, oh, they're married now, they have kids, and they don't want to work anywhere else. And that's amazing. But they're like, Dave, we need, they didn't even have to say it. It's like they would love if they could make more money. And so I have to feel like put away my goals and do what's best for the company. And right now I want us to be able to provide for our employees in a way that sort of resets the standard for how an employee gets paid in the restaurant industry for the goal of hourly employees. I want my cooks to make like $20, $30, $40 an hour. I want it to be as high or higher than a union wage, and we're not a union house.
How many employees do you have now?
Several hundred.
Wow.
But we'll probably, after Washington DC opens, it'll probably be, I don't know a lot. And not just financially successful, but I want them to be creatively challenged and to be very happy, creatively speaking. So those are my goals. And I can't just fetish size and do one cool project anymore. I can't just do what I want to do. I've already done that. And it's my job to sort of facilitate it for everyone else. And those are my 2 goals, to financially and creatively help my guys out.
So how does tech play a role in all that, and how does that help the company grow? Like, where do you see tech being involved in that process? One thing is like, there's just, again, I mentioned the data inefficiencies, and I had no idea how expensive it was. Like, we were talking to a data mining company, and they were going to charge like $6 million a year to create a platform for us. And I was like, what? That's more money than we make. I thought they were joking. I should have done better in school. Like, fuck. So that's one thing, and it's going to happen. It's just a matter, somebody's got to figure it out. We're trying to figure out a way to do it in-house. That's one project that we're going to do in-house. Anoop, who's watching somewhere in here, has been working on a project that we're not going to talk about today, but it's about doing a lot of customer loyalty and sort of using that data to sort of reward our guests. And I think it's just collecting data really on what the customer wants. It's so simple to me, but it doesn't exist. So when you have that kind of data, like what does that experience then look like in a couple of years? I walk into Sambar or Noodle Bar, like, you have the data, I'm coming in.
I think the coolest thing that happened ever, and I don't even need a Taco Bell, was that Taco Bell app. That's so cool. Like, it'll direct me to the closest Taco Bell and like order my food. Like, I can just order it and like the closest Taco Bell will start making it. Like, that's amazing to me. I mean, I don't like Taco Bell. No, I haven't eaten there in probably 15 years, but when I read that, I was like, wow, that is pretty rad.
Well,
and I would love that for Momofuku. It's like 2 years from now. You know, you walk in, the no in line, I sit down, and boom, you have what you want. It's right there.
Well, you're working with the delivery company now, right? You're the chief culinary officer for this thing called Maple. Could you sort of explain, like, well, one, what a chief culinary officer is? Like,
I think we're figuring that role out right now for Maple. It's the first project that I've done outside of Momofuku, but I've invested in it, and I'm excited because that's something that we were working on anyway, about doing food that was sort of like a lunchbox. Because that's exciting to me. It's sort of creatively prohibiting you from doing anything else, because there's so many options when you make food. And making deliverable food is really cool to me and important, because that's one meal every day that everyone looks forward to. Whether you're the CEO or the assistant to the CEO, everybody looks forward to their lunch meal. And wouldn't it be awesome if we could make it that much better than what people have, that as an option? And when the Maple guys presented what they wanted to do, I was like, oh my God, this is amazing, because I eventually saw this as a restaurant. We're a restaurant that's going to make food that's to be delivered, and I always view a restaurant as back of the house oriented, and who cares what the dining room looks like? We don't go out there. So I was like, oh, this is basically just a giant restaurant where we make the food. Regardless, we're going to use our same standards. We're going to get the best product, the best produce possible, with the same techniques and standards we'd find it anywhere else. And what Maple's going to provide is the front of the house, which I mean, I care about, but it's not what I do. And they're going to provide the logistics and the technology and creating the app, which is a very simple platform. I think it's simple because I can download it and I can use it. And you're going to be able to get 3 options for lunch and 3 options for dinner. And I like that idea of being able to do something that I haven't been able to do for Momofuku, and to make food that maybe I can't even serve at Momofuku because people wouldn't want to necessarily associate that. So, you know, I'm very excited about that. Just getting really good food at an affordable price, and I think that's sort of a philosophy that's just who I am anyway.
Well, in New York, you've got Seamless. A lot of people love that. So, like, why is this better? Like, I Seamless shit all the time, and it's fun.
Again, I think like Seamless, like OpenTable. It's good, but like it's paralysis of choice. I don't know how many of you guys live in New York City. I order Seamless probably like 50% of my meals of my lifetime have been from Seamless, and it's always like there's too many options, and I don't know. I can't sift through all of that stuff. So part of it is like there's like usually 3 or 4 restaurants that I like to deliver from. And then I started thinking about like, well, why do I never order fish? More often than not, the older I get, I want to eat fish for dinner, right? But I never order fish from restaurants, ever, for delivery, because nobody's ever making a deliverable fish meal. Like, it's quite simple. Nobody's taken the time to look at the packaging, to look at the logistics, to take care of our delivery guys, because that's what Maple's doing. It's something I'm very proud to be associated with. So I think it's paralysis of choice, and no one's ever tried to do it. I know that there's other people that are trying to do it, but certainly there's going to be other people in this field. But when you go out to restaurants, like, again, I've never even met Aaron Franklin, and he's going to be like, why is he talking about Franklin so much? When you eat Franklin's, why it's so delicious to me, and probably to everyone else, is because they care more than anyone else. It's simple as that. There's nothing on that brisket other than salt and pepper. They care more than anyone else. They are using the best beef that they can get from like proper farms. Like, it's no different than I don't know how many Texas, barbecue spots there are. And the reason I think it resonates with so many people and why it's so delicious is because they care. And I think that's what I want. I've always wanted that from Momofuku, and I want that from Maple as well. It's like the reason why it's more delicious and we're going to get it people to faster, or just in a way that's deliverable, is because we care more. And it sounds so cheesy, but that's what I believe in.
So, and what do you sort of hate that's going on in food and tech right now? Is there something that like drives you insane besides the internet?
I love the internet. I just, man, I'm not that much of a curmudgeon. I don't know. I think that this is not really an answer to your question. What I love about the internet is I want to go to a restaurant where there is no internet. And I really believe the next great restaurant is going to be a place that doesn't utilize technology whatsoever, that the chef isn't looking what every other chef is doing, and it's probably some town that you can't even get to. But to me, the internet, obviously, I don't have to espouse all the great things about the internet, but one thing that it prevents is error, trial and error. Everybody wants something instantaneous, and that is fantastic. But what is sacrificed is the process of fucking up. And I'm sorry, like, there's nobody that's born a fucking chef genius. Nobody is born out of the womb like, oh, I can do this and this. It's whoever makes the best mistakes. And right now, I think the internet just puts people in a place where they have to just make it immediately. El Bulli, the famous restaurant from Ferran Adria, was open for like 15 years before it ever reached any type of like notoriety. He had 15 years of fucking up. If that's what you asked Ferran, he's like, that's what I did. I was able to mess up for 15 straight years and to find his voice. And that's, to me, what is sort of being lost right now, the individuality. There's plenty of innovation, plenty of innovation right now, but sometimes innovation gets lost if it's not sort of mixed in certain balance with craftsmanship.
How long did you guys get to fuck up before?
Well, Noodle Bar, we fucked up for 9 months. Straight, seriously. Being able to tell you're going out of business is like a terrible thing, but it allows you to really not care about fucking up. You're like, oh, if we're going out of business, let's really fucking go out of business. Let's do things we would never ever do. And that's the crazy thing when you look back on it. If, I don't know if we'd be successful if the internet was right there. When we opened in 2004, like, there were no real food blogs, and I think eGullet existed, but barely. I feel really bad for up-and-coming chefs because they have to be so good right away. And I'm pretty sure that I wouldn't be here talking to you guys right now if the internet, as it is today, existed in 2004, because I would be written off completely. And I don't think that's very fair.
So is failure part of the process, like a luxury that you have given the size of Momofuku is now, that you can kind of be afforded to fail a little bit without sort of completely going out of business?
It's interesting. We were actually talking about this in the office the other day, that we want to utilize technology better to communicate our failures in the business to each other. And I view that we are successful because we made the best mistakes. And we're constantly seeking out how to fuck up the best, as long as it's a smart fuck up. A mistake that you can recover from.
Sounds like a tech company.
Really?
Yeah.
Seriously, I don't know. I didn't even watch Silicon Valley or whatever that is.
So you've got Maple going, and then you've got your reservation systems. Like, can you talk about some of the other ways, some of the other problems that you think need to be dealt with in terms of restaurants and logistics, and like where that could come in? Because like, I don't know if everybody here is super familiar with how restaurants run, or like, because you might think Momofuku is making like bajillions of dollars since there's crowds outside.
Well, that's the thing is, this business that we're in is so dumb. It's so stupid. If you're here to make money in it, you're an idiot, because the margins are so small, and food should really be more expensive in this country. I only say that because we have a restaurant in Australia and food's very expensive there. But it should be, I think, just to, long-winded answer, which I won't get into. But in terms of how we can sort of increase our profit margins, it's like saving those, getting rid of those inefficiencies, whether it's a shipment of food, or a lot of it is sort of POS related, I think. But another thing is there's three things that I think that have changed and that I would like us to sort of benefit from is increased real estate in New York City. It's just stupid how expensive everything is. Increased labor. It's harder, not increased, but it's harder to find great talent. And for a long time, I would bitch about how hard it is to find talent. Now I just realize that I'm the asshole and we just need to be better teachers. And like what people want. For instance, myself, like I'm not looking for the best restaurant to eat at. Like in fact, I want like the best mediocre restaurant to go to. So like I think it's just what people want to eat, and real estate and labor, and those have changed. So one thing that can change is how you make that food and how that food gets delivered, and quite frankly, how people eat today. I think that one thing that hasn't really changed in this food industry is how the mobile phone changes how you eat. And it's changed just about everything else that I know of, from like looking up apartments to real estate to listening to music to getting a car. The only thing that really hasn't changed as far as I know as a consumer is how people eat. And I think that's going to change. And one of the things that we're trying to do at Momofuku is the original noodle bar is at locations 163 First Avenue, and then it became Momofuku Co. So it's a very, very special place to me. It's 600 square feet, it's the size of a one-car garage, and it's hard to run a business out of there. But it's a very special place. Ironically, before we opened up in 2004, it was a place called East Village Barbecue, and it was a fried chicken place. And there were a lot of things that we wanted to do at the old Momofuku Co., old noodle bar, and that's sort of what we're gonna launch it as. If we're gonna sell fried chicken again, fried chicken sandwiches, really, and we're gonna call it Fuku. The peach will be in front of the Fuku, but F-U-K-U. So it's still Momofuku, it's just,
Just Fuku.
Fuku.
So this is your fast food thing, kind of.
I mean, again, it's like no market research, but it's what I want to eat. I want to eat a fried chicken sandwich. I want to eat a spicy fried chicken sandwich. And I'm hoping that other people will think it's really delicious too. But there's obviously a tech play that we're incorporating into it, and obviously the goal would have been to sort of tell you today that this is the day we're launching the app. But if there's one thing that I didn't think there could be anything more difficult than opening a restaurant, but doing stuff with tech and planning an app and doing all of that logistical insanity is way more complicated. So that's something that we're working on, to develop a Momofuku app or a Fuku app to order your fried chicken sandwich, to get it delivered to you. It's something that we've been working on, and we could really do a janky version of it, but we're gonna wait to get it right. So 163 First Avenue, Fuku is gonna allow us to beta test a bunch of stuff. And in a way, it's gonna be a sort of it's gonna basically be a regular restaurant where you can get a fried chicken sandwich.
Just a fried chicken sandwich or anything else?
Just a fried chicken sandwich right now. And a healthy option. Right? Right? Like, I want a really just bifurcated system. You're either eating fat person food or you want a healthy option.
Fish.
Yeah. And we'll see what happens. But it'll allow us to sell a few other things. We have Som sauce that we launched last week, which I'm really excited about. We have other products. We've had a lab for almost 6 years developing stuff, and finally we're able to work on it and bring it to market, and a bunch of other stuff. Like Momofuku is not just, to me, a restaurant group anymore. We got all this crazy shit that's happening. So I think that it's gonna be a lot of different things. It's gonna allow us to experiment, and most importantly, we're gonna make a lot of mistakes out of there. And that's what's exciting to me. It's like, oh my God, we have a lot to lose. And when I feel like that, I think that's when we make our best work, and we're gonna try to make the best fried chicken sandwich possible. And we're gonna work with the smartest people out there to make the best tech stuff for it.
So what's your model fried chicken sandwich, like the vision you had going into making this fried chicken sandwich?
The first meal I had when I got into Austin was not In-N-Out, Chick-fil-A. It was a debate, actually, when we got off the plane. It's like, there's In-N-Out here and there's Chick-fil-A. I was like, We thought about buying both and merging them into one sandwich. No, see, no one's ever even thought of that. Next time you go to In-N-Out, ask for the spicy chicken, animal style. See what happens. They both have sort of similar company morals. It would work. It would work. I think that's just like, it's something I grew up eating. It gives me immense pleasure. And that's something that we're debating is like exactly how we're going to do it with our own spin. But I've always liked the spicy fried chicken sandwich. I don't think that, I don't want a regular option. just the spicy. That's it.
So where does this sort of take you? Where does this take Momofuku over the next 3-4 years? As you're sort of thinking about these things and broadening out. You've got a fried chicken place.
Well, yeah, I think because of the internet, for forever to know what was really cool, you had to work on the margins, and whether it was word of mouth, whether it be 20, 30 years ago when there was no internet, that's where you learned where you wanted to be, and that's where, it was sort of uncool, right? And it's not just the food industry, I think it was just culture in general. It's like what was uncool eventually sort of becomes what people want. And the internet, now everyone can share in that experience immediately. So there's no more oh, you got to work at this restaurant, this chef that nobody knows about. Everybody knows it immediately. So everybody wants to be doing the most interesting stuff. And to me, that's not as interesting anymore. And it's also the food that I want to eat right now. I mean, I joked about it. It was I call it normivore. Just eating normal shit. I'm not afraid to say I like a fried chicken sandwich. It's really good. I don't need anything else. I like meatloaf. Don't say that I'm not a weird person. I like meatloaf. It's delicious. I want to eat that stuff. So how do we transition ourselves to still doing everything that we're doing, but still doing offerings that we would not normally do? And I don't know exactly what it is, but that's our goal, is to sort of do mainstream stuff. And to me, that's the most exciting stuff right now because nobody wants to do it. If I can joke, but I love Waffle House.
Waffle House is amazing.
It's one of those things, if you don't like Waffle House, I don't like you. It's very clear. It's so good.
What's your Waffle House order?
It changes all the time. The one thing that I just don't order the burger there. So I've not had a good experience there. That being said, if I was saying we were gonna do a Denny's or an Applebee's, right? That's really interesting to me because I grew up in Northern Virginia and I saw my parents 6 months ago and there's no place to eat where they live. And I wanted to take them out to dinner and I was like, Mom, where do you want to go? She's like, let's go to Legal Seafoods. And I'm like, fuck. And it's fine. I got my stuffed lobster with crab meat. It was delicious. But when that's your only option, it sucks. And what if it was awesome, right? What if Macaroni Grill was awesome? And I'm not trying to sound like a total elitist snob. I know it is awesome to most people. I'm just saying what if Denny's was genuinely where everybody wanted to go? For instance, I know that sounds totally insane. I joke with a lot of my chef friends, everybody wants to make a David Lynch Blue Velvet movie, which is fantastic. But who wants to watch it all the time? I mean, I know I could do that. I mean, most of my friends can make that now. But you know what? Making Star Wars, you know what I'm really pumped about? I cannot wait to watch Star Wars when it comes out. Right? That's hard. That's really hard to do, where to make something, whether it's a movie or food, that where generally everybody wants to enjoy it, that's so exciting to me. And that's sort of where I'm at in terms of food, is I still want to do everything. But for right now, making something that is enjoyable by everybody is intrinsically rewarding to me.
So the beginning of that is a fried chicken sandwich.
Well, we'll see.
Yeah.
We'll see what happens. Again, it could be a total failure. And I'm okay with that. I don't know guys know this, Sambar was an Asian burrito bar when we first opened up. It could not have failed more than thank you, the lone fan. Whew. He can eat at Sambar for life. We failed miserably, and just talking about failure again, like that was the best thing that ever happened to us. Would I want to go through that ever again? No, like it was awful. It was so bad. I would have lost everything. My parents would have lost everything. And but when you're sort of facing that, like you're like dead man walking. Like who cares? And when you're able to sort of embrace failure, that was the best thing that ever happened to us. So that's, in a way, I'm very excited to see that, great, if the fried chicken sandwich is fantastic and we get this app and it works fantastic with it, fantastic. I couldn't be happier. But if also bombs completely, also amazing. Very excited about that, because out of those ashes, something fantastic is going to happen. I just know it's going to.
So failure is sort of built into the culture of Momofuku at this point.
Yeah, pretty much. The only way you fuck up is if you don't fuck up.
So Momofuku, what happens to like all of that if you drop dead on stage right now? Does Momofuku keep going? Like what?
Well, I'm pretty sure if you ask some people that work with me, they're like, well, we thought Dave was dead for the past year anyway. So we had an amazing team. Like, again, I get way too much credit. Like, I literally have the best team out there, and I know everybody says that, but it's like, they do everything. My job is to push them out of their comfort zones and to help them make the better decisions. Like, you know, I was looking at the cook at Co the other day. His name's Carlos. He's 22 years old. I'm like, my God, he's so much better than I am now. You know, but like, there's a lot of things he doesn't know, and I can help him with that. So my job isn't to just do stuff, do one thing anymore. So I'm pretty sure that we have a good team in place that if I did drop dead, our culture's strong enough where that people would pick it up with the slack and then push it forward more.
Awesome. So I think we have the last 15 minutes that people can come up and ask questions if people have them. So how do you, as you scale, how do you keep creativity in place? Because those things tend to be sort of at odds. The bigger you get, the harder it is to be creative.
I don't really have that answer other than I want to do both. You know, I think that for us, our best work comes in that conflict of like that balance, and that balance isn't that like the middle. The middle is that dichotomy between like creativity and structure, and I want us to be the most systemized, most efficient restaurant group ever, but at the same time, I want us to be the most, you know, creative, full of the most anarchy, and you can't do 70% anarchy, 30% systems. It doesn't work, and for the same reason, when I tell people how to season food, you can't tell somebody like a young cook, like, hey man, with that dish, it was really good, but you need to over-season it 30% more. You know, it doesn't work. You gotta tell the cook they need to understand, you gotta be 100% over-salted and 100% under-salted. And in that balance is that perfect salted mixture. So that's sort of what we're at, if that made any sense whatsoever.
Hi. So to repeat the question, like how do you sort of deal with the inequality of like super high-end food, $450 a head for a meal, and like, you know, there are starving children all over the world?
Well, no, specifically in the U.S.
In the U.S.
So there was a few years back that happened, right? And like I bought the sort of the company line for how to eat sustainably, hook, line, and sinker. And I remember giving turkeys out for the food bank, and I was doing a cooking demo beforehand, and the lady comes up to me afterward, and she's like, I don't care about how you do this, and with an organic turkey. She's like, I gotta feed my like 4 kids, and I'll buy 5 turkeys for that 1 organic turkey. And I'm not gonna tell her she's wrong, no fucking way. All I can do is hope that she's armed with some type of knowledge to make food better. And that's still our goal. I don't think that changes at all. And this is me. I have no idea. This is my opinion. It could be totally wrong, probably is. And that's something that I want us to I think you need to do. We need to teach people how to cook again, how to really stretch food out, to be resourceful. We throw way too much food out. And we're trying our best. And that's the thing, is we're trying. I don't think we're doing enough. And then this past year, I did this I helped these troubled youths this summer cook and like gather their own food from a farm. We made them dinner. And one of them said, why can't I eat like this every day? And I was like, fuck? I had no answer. And they're like, we want to eat well, we just don't have the option. And it dawned on me that maybe, and one of the kids said, it's like, that's why I like Chipotle so much. And I was like, holy shit. Like, of course everybody wants to eat well. And they know it's a better option than going to McDonald's. So it got me thinking that maybe the only way you can affect change is by using business, right? And one of the things, like for Maple, for instance, if it scales to the way we want it to be, and it's something I learned talking to Josh Veritel, who later became the Slow Food president. This is when he was running Yale Sustainable Food Project. And one of the things that was really interesting to me was he could go to a farmer in Arizona who didn't care about raising anything the right way. And he could give him a blank check, like say for $2.5 million, saying like, we're gonna teach you how to grow tomatoes the way we want you to grow them. And we're gonna incentivize you with money to grow it the right way. And then by doing that, we're gonna be able to buy on margin and supply and be able to distribute it to people that need it. So I think that the only way that you can affect change in a very positive way, other than doing this micro of slow teaching education, is on a much larger level, is by affecting it through big business. And I don't see any other way. So that's one aspect why it's really exciting to me if Momofuku gets larger, is that hopefully we'll be able to affect change in a very positive way, how people eat. And it's very small. I think we have a massive problem in terms of how people eat. And I was talking to somebody I work with, or one of my friends, and he's like, well, if you figure out how to use technology, he does all this work for Medicaid in New Jersey, and he's like, well, 90% of the people that are in Medicaid spend like 90% of the budget on fast food. And he's like, that is ridiculous, because that is directly responsible for a lot of their continuing bad health. So what if you were able to create a subscriber meal with the technology that we're working on for Fuku, for instance, to be able to deliver to them for the same price or lower cost they would buy for, say, a McDonald's meal or Wendy's or whatever. I'm not trying to single out these companies, but to give them a better meal and a healthier meal, and thereby like lowering healthcare costs by actually just feeding them better. And that's a whole nother thing that gets me crazy, because last year I spent so much time in hospitals, I'm like, man, my mom eats like shit. Because the people that need to eat the best eat the worst. And that's just something that drives me crazy. So I don't have the answers, but I'm definitely angry about it.
Hi, I'm Kevin from Havas. Up here on the mic, way over here. Way over.
Oh, hello.
Oh.
How are you? On one hand, you said earlier that you think the future of restaurants would ideally not have technology. On the other side, you said, I love the idea of having food be applicable to the masses. So with the technology becoming the norm and social media buzzing, do you feel there's a value in the mass knowledge and sharing to make food better, to help design your recipes?
I guess to a certain point, I don't know. Like, I think that's a question that if I really answered, I'm gonna get in a lot of trouble. I don't really know. It's like getting sort of crowdsourcing a recipe, I guess. Is that what you're trying to say?
Of sorts, right? So like you think about what Domino's Pizza did. Now I know that might not be the best. It's not comparable to your work. But
I'm a huge fan of Domino's, for the record.
But Domino's Pizza did a huge campaign of which they went to the U.S. and said, help us make our pizza better. I'm not saying that you're in that scenario, but if there are suggestions on like, maybe we need less salt or more salt or what have you, do you take that into consideration? Is that a way to use technology?
That's a really loaded question. It's tough because as a chef at a restaurant, when everyone gives their personal, listen, for our menus for a long time, we had no substitutions or special requests. And it wasn't because I was trying to be a total jerk, but I was trying to discourage people from giving too much of their opinion, because you can't function as a restaurant by catering meals to everybody. It just is impossible, unless you can do some type of subscription service. And maybe that's how we do it, but as a standalone physical brick and mortar restaurant, to be able to cater a meal for each person, I think that would be logistically impossible. So of course, we would want to tailor the needs to everybody. I just don't know we have the technology right now to be able to make that happen. And more specifically, like, I don't know how you'd actually make it.
Thanks.
Hi, David. My name is Melody Tao. I'm from San Diego. I'm a digital marketing professional in San Diego. So the most interesting thing for me is to see the convergence of food and social media and how it's being promoted. One of the most relevant places that I see it happening is on kind of reality food shows. I wanted to get your insight on kind of what you think about those shows. Are they really real? Are they staged? Do they really help us, cook better or know what food is? What are your thoughts?
I've done them in the past because sometimes they're fun to do. I think I've been edited out. I'm pretty critical when I actually have done those judging panels. Yeah. I think that it could be a lot better, but it's something I've thought about a lot, this reality TV marketing aspect of it all. At the end of the day, it's easy to make fun of it. It's the lowest hanging fruit. It's just so easy to make fun of for all the reasons that you want to talk about. But at the end of the day, I have to say it's a very positive thing. Even if I don't necessarily want to be associated with it, because it's raised food awareness in a way that culture has never been in America. So people care more about food than ever before, and I do believe that reality TV has had a great deal to do with it. So of course I want to talk shit about it, but I can't.
Howdy, David. I'm going to throw you more of a softball question. You have one meal left on Earth to eat. Excluding your Chick-fil-A and In-N-Out burger concoction, what would it be?
Oh, man. Right off the top of my head, the why I want to eat, if I could give you one restaurant, it'd be El Cano in San Sebastian, outside San Sebastian. Because it's not fancy. It's just all grilled food. But that's like an understatement, but
yeah.
It's very simple. But the reason I'd go there is because I don't know of anybody else. The only person that cooks the food there is a guy, the dad, and he's been making the food over the grill for like 38 years. No one else has ever cooked the food. And that's what I want to taste. I want to taste his intuition. And no internet recipe can make that taste good as much as he can. So that's what I would tell you right now. If I could choose anywhere to eat right now, that's where I would want to go. Because it's just so honest and so beautiful.
Perfect. I was looking for more of a, if like a death row inmates.
Well,
maybe it's really.
I always tell people like I would escape from prison. Like that's just not a question that I want to answer. That's not happening.
Well said. Thank you.
David, I love your article in GQ. It's always funny and informative. So thanks for doing that. I wanted to ask, how did that partnership come about, and why are you doing it?
Jim Nelson and the whole GQ team have been very good to us over the years and very supportive. And then one night I was just having dinner with Jim, sort of complaining about how shitty my life was. And he's like, thinking that he'd be like, give me some life advice. And he said, no, you know what, Dave? I really want you to write an article for us. And I was like, fuck. So that's how it happened. Jim Nelson bosses me around. And I'm very thankful for it. To have that opportunity has been a lot of fun. It's a lot of work, but we'll see. It's like I don't know what else there is to talk about for us, but yeah.
Hi, David. Thanks for bringing Momofuku to Toronto and to Canada. I really appreciate it. Improved my eating when I'm in town quite a bit. We talked about technologies disrupting an industry. I think that Lucky Peach really disrupted the food magazine industry. So I want to know what your thoughts are about the future of Lucky Peach and whether we'll hear more or read more about Fuchsia Dunlop and her adventures as well. Thanks.
Lucky Peach, first and foremost, it wouldn't exist without Peter Meehan, who is basically does so much. And if one reason why people like the GQ articles, I send him my garbage, and he punches it up. So Lucky Peach is really dependent on getting Pete Meehan some help. We're still a barely profitable magazine, but with the website, that's changed a lot of different things. Like, it's crazy. Like Lucky Peach has never been a planned business, but now that we have great content, and I think it's been a forum where writers want to contribute. And I think that it's important to tell some of the stories. Like, I really believe the story that's in the recent issue of Lucky Peach about Chef Jeremy Fox, who was at Ubuntu and now he's at Rustic Canyon in LA, is the most important story for any young chef to read right now. I think it's mandatory reading, quite frankly. And to be able to provide that, as long as we're able to provide that, I think we're successful. And I'm not really worried about the metrics, although I am. I want us to be a very successful company that, talk about people that are underpaid, like those web editors and the editors of Lucky Peach don't get paid nearly enough. So we would like it to be very successful, obviously, financially speaking. But for me, it's like, how do we make the best stories as possible, too, and to make sure that people read about stories that are very meaningful to us. I don't know if that made any sense, but I don't want to lose quality as we grow. But I think things are changing. Like, what people want to read on the web is vastly different when people want to read in the actual physical copy of Lucky Peach. And I think that's what we're trying to figure out right now. We've learned that most people are reading Lucky Peach on their mobile phones. Like, that sounds crazy, not crazy to you, but really crazy to me. And we have to sort of tailor what people want to read on the web. So it's a work in progress for us, but hopefully we'll figure it out. We have a really good team as well.
Thanks a lot.
And I think we have time for like one more.
Hey, David, non-traditional question for you. I'm from Vienna as well. One, would you serve Dan Snyder if he came into one of your restaurants? And when are you going to buy the Redskins?
I would never serve Dan Snyder. I just dislike him intensely. And
Wait, maybe explain who Dan Snyder is.
Dan Snyder is the owner of the Washington Redskins. And I'm now a Raiders fan for the next couple years. So, that's just ridiculous to talk about right now. So, one more.
Actually, one more.
Okay, I'm from Arizona, so I want to say thanks for giving a shout out to Ding Hao for those dumplings, because I'm a fellow dumpling lover. But I have a checklist here of things that I need to get accomplished at South by Southwest, and one of them is a high five from David Chang. So I was wondering if I could do that.
Certainly. I'll pay you later. That was very well timed. All right. Thank you, guys. Really, really an honor to be here for you guys. So thank you very much for listening.
Thanks.
Now we can set out a balloon on one side of the world and sail it 10,000 to 20,000 kilometers away and have it come within a few hundred meters of where we want it to go. But I assure you, that's not what happened on the 1st or the 50th or the 150th.